Chapter 21. Meanwhile, down in seclusion, Mamie was mercifully moved back onto the ward. Her place in the cell was taken by one of Rata's most seasoned professional patients. This woman, in her late 40s, had been mainly in and not much out of psychiatric institutions since she was a teenager. Allegedly because she had bipolar disorder, she was now heavily institutionalised and psychologically damaged to such an extent as to not need much of a reason to keep ending up back in the bin. The self-styled Queen of Rata, she had turned her endless cycle of hospitalisations, committals and seclusion into a kind of art form. Sometimes we would be in the secure lounge together on our escorted cigarette breaks. She always seemed to have the staff wrapped around her finger, but I guess they just knew her well by now and had her figured out. I don't know how she pulled this off, but one day she insisted on being let out to make a phone call. Fair enough, somewhere out there she had children and a partner. Everyone seems so far away when you're in lockup. Anyway, while she was out, she rang the local pizza delivery company. Sometime later there was a knock on the door of the seclusion lounge, and in walked a nurse with a face of forbearance carrying a pile of pizzas and cartons of barbecued spare ribs. "Someone ordered pizza?" the nurse asked facetiously. Good old Queenie, she'd ordered enough for both of us, and we stuffed ourselves until every last morsel was gone. The Queen fostered an attitude of two can play at this game, and it had served her well over the years. I struggled with adopting this sentiment. I was finding lock-up hard to endure. Being trapped in a room that is full only of one's own insanity is a harsh punishment, no matter how the medical staff see it. I craved company, and apart from the very occasional visit by staff, often just to look in at me through the window in the door, the only other person I saw was a tall, bespectacled man in a cloth cap who would appear randomly outside the Perspex shatterproof window. I didn't know who he was, and he seemed so incongruously, mysteriously free against the backdrop of my captivity. He began to leave tobacco for me on the outer window ledge of the secure lounge. I later came to know Cam well and forged a friendship with him out of the ruins of the train wreck that was our shared experience of seclusion. I will always be grateful to him for those small gifts of kindness. Seclusion is degrading and humiliating. You know when the only accessory in your room is a potty that things have sunk to an all-time low. The solitary confinement was re-stimulating the fear that had been hanging around since the abuse flashbacks, and there was no escape from my thoughts. I'd been reduced to a whole new level of powerlessness. Stripped of all my previously assumed rights and dignity, I experienced anew the burning flames of violation, oppression and mistrust. But something in me changed in that cell. It began to dawn on me that if I could survive this experience, then I could and would survive whatever else I went through in life. It was not possible to me that circumstances would ever get more dire than this. My rambling, catastrophising thoughts began to change tack. I began consciously trying to assert some control over my mental activity by using some meditation techniques I knew of. I tried paying attention to and counting my breaths and focusing my mind singly on a spot on the wall. While still too high to achieve any actual meditation, I was succeeding in introducing some flickers of space into the manic storm. That was all I needed to break through into a powerful awakening, as I suddenly understood that freedom really does begin in the mind, that despite my incarceration I could think any thought I wanted to. My inner dialogue could traverse whatever topic I set my mind upon, and that was the one thing that the staff could not take away from me. My thinking turned as I realised that I could use this time of solitary confinement to access the spiritual connection that I'd previously sensed in my being and call upon the strength to get me through. I did not have to let them break me, as had happened to so many before. I asked a nurse if I could have one of my books brought in, a little handbook of meditations on the 12 steps, and she agreed. I couldn't read more than a few words or sentences at a time, the medications and insanity reducing my concentration to almost zero. But the messages of hope in the book gave me something else to think about, a means of looking at my predicament from another angle. Those readings illuminated to me a tiny speck of light at the end of a long, dark tunnel, and it was just enough to see by. To this day, 17 years on from lock-up hell, I still measure my experiences against that dark, dark time. It has paradoxically given me a life of perpetual gratitude. Whatever I am experiencing in my life today, it is always better than that. Gratitude has given me a new life, and in that I have found true freedom.